Well, Ernie, we've talked about the 69-70 and the great team there, but of course on your return, the 79-80, then 80-81 Chesterfield team was another great lineup built by Arthur Cox and taken on by Frank Barlow. Yes. And the 79-80 side just missed out on promotion, and then the addition of Danny Wilson took it to a new sphere, didn't it? Really, that summer.
It did. It was superb. You know, when Arthur, he was quality, but Frank was also brilliant as well. Frank Barlow, and the team that we've got with Birchie and Phil Bonnyman, and it's absolute quality.
At the start of that season, a bit of a pre-season tournament in the Anglo-Scottish Cup and games against Sheffield United, yes, Grimsby Hall. Did you think what that might lead to?
Well, we did. We were playing like that, and when I scored at Hull, was it at Hull? Grimsby. When I scored at Grimsby, which was a long way out, when I just whacked it, and we actually managed to win. Luckily enough, and it was very, very late in the game. So then we got into the Anglo-Scottish Cup, so that we could be okay, and that was superb. But to play against Glasgow Rangers was brilliant.
We'll come on to Glasgow Rangers in a bit, because of course before that match, Arthur Cox got the job at Newcastle United and moved up there, and Frank came in from the number 2 position, ex-player of course, and his first 2 or 3 games were just like awesome. A 6-2 win away at Carlisle, and then what I think is the best football I've ever seen played by a Chesterfield side, the first half against Colchester United, 3-0 at half time. Just how good were those 2 performances?
It was excellent. Frank Barlow was superb. He's a smashing guy, because he came from Sheffield United to play with me, and he became a coach, and then he became a manager, and he's such a great guy. But you're quite right. When we went up with Carlisle, and we absolutely hammered them 6-2. Birchie got 3, I got 2, Phil Walker got 1. But to come when we played of an evening against Colchester here, the first 45 minutes, when we were, I think we were 3-0 up at half time, that particular 45 was superb, really brilliant for all the players, and we hammered Colchester 3-0.
I don't think it would have mattered who had played that night, that if the other team's not got the ball, there's nothing much they can do about it.
No, there wasn't, but everybody, from the goalkeeper all the way up to the front people, developed brilliantly. And for the first 45, we battered them. Second half, they came out and they wanted just to defend, because they didn't want to lose 6-0 or whatever. So they defended a little bit better. But the first half, we played brilliantly.
By that time, of course, we knew the draw for the Anglo-Scottish knockout section, and of course, Glasgow Rangers had come out first leg away from home. They not qualified for Europe that season, but they played their absolute first team up at Ibrox.
Yes, they did.
And Chesterfield got a very creditable draw. What do you remember of the experience up at Ibrox?
Yeah, well, we went up and we stayed at, obviously, superb hotel. Went to Ibrox, and there was about 25,000 people in Ibrox watching us, and they scored a goal, but then Phil Walker, he developed, he drilled the ball in from the corner, and it just kept going and flew into the far post. So nobody touched it, so he'd scored there, and we then worked our socks off, and we came back 1-1, which was great.
Funnily enough, I remember him scoring down from a corner at Swansea as well, and
oh yes, of course.
Didn't he? When they won promotion in what was a massive game for them.
He does that well, because he whips the ball in, and it does swerve quite well.
So the Scottish press were quite surprised, because they expected Rangers to trounce a team from the 3rd division below. They're sort of one of the greats of British football. And no doubt John Gregg, who was the manager, some of the quotes that were attributed to him at the time were bandied around the dressing room, certainly particularly about Colin Tart.
Oh yes, there were. But when we were coming back, we came back on the bus. It's a long way, But to win, to draw 1-1 and then come back for the second leg was going to be really superb. And a lot of the Rangers supporters did travel down to Chesterfield.
Yeah, they did, didn't they?
Yeah, they did.
And it wasn't quite all quiet on the Western Front. I mean, all the pubs closed and not quite boarded up, but it was a bit like the siege of Mafeking, I think, when they came to town.
Yes.
But, of course, that night must rank as one of the greatest nights in
yes,
a Chesterfield, but not in blue, of course. So they played in red that day.
And it was throwing it down with rain. There were a lot of people from Rangers that had come into the ground, so there was 16,000 in the stadium, and it was absolute quality. But Phil Bonnyman scored 2, and I scored 1, and we beat them by 3 goals to 0 to make it 4-1, and it was we absolutely battered them.
I mean, for Phil Bonnyman, who'd been a young player at Rangers, but not kept on to get into the first. How much did it mean to him?
He enjoyed it and he liked it, but he did score from a corner and he hit it again, and he was such a great guy. But because it was against Rangers, I think he really got into it, steamed up, and went and scored those 2 goals. And I scored, late on, make it 3-0. But that was absolutely superb to actually beat them, who were in the top league, and we thought that was going to be brilliant. But then later on, we went and we played in the semi-finals, didn't we? And was that against?
Yeah, pull the plum out against Bury.
And we did actually beat them, but they were more difficult than Rangers against us.
And of course, Bury, for those statos amongst us, is a ground that Chesterfield never ever used to win on. So it was a dreadful draw.
Yes.
But we went and won at their place, and it was the first time since 1946-47 season that any Chesterfield team had done that. But there was still the second leg of the semi-final to come.
Yes.
But did you think the job was done after winning the first?
Well, we thought we'd be okay, but I think when we came here, did we draw?
Draw. Sturkey scored an unusual or rare goal.
Yeah, because we'd done quite well across there. But when we came here, we thought we'd be okay to hammer them, and it was more difficult. Yes. But we did manage to just hold on, and we got through to the finals.
Of course, the final against Notts County, who were flying high on the way to what now's the Premiership. So another really tough game to come across. Very tight first leg, and of course one of those bittersweet moments for Chesterfield. Danny Wilson got injured in the first leg, missed a few league games, which probably cost us promotion that season. But a very tight first leg here at Saltergate.
It was a tight, and because they were in the old First Division, which was top draw. We thought it was going to be a problem that we weren't going to actually win it. But I managed to tap a ball in, and we won 1-0 here. And then the second leg was going to Notts County, and we thought, well, because we've only won 1-0, to be at Notts County in their top league, we might get hammered. But we worked our socks off. It went into extra time, didn't it?
Yeah,
they scored one. I can't remember who scored the goal, but it was 1-0. And into the what was it called? The extra time.
The
extra time.
That's the one.
Yeah, and then Mr. Crawford, Andy Crawford, he scored.
Or even Alan Crawford.
Sorry, not Andy. Alan Crawford, and he was quality on that.
Yeah. Well, his was from about the same distance as yours
it was only a tap
in the first leg, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was only a tap
but a bit back heel, a bit more flamboyant.
Yeah, it was. But to do that in the extra time situation, and we then made it 2-1, and we went balmy because we'd got the cup. Just
behind us there, and one of the tankards, of course, presented by Mr. Football League of the Day himself, Bob Lord.
Yes, Bob Lord, he presented that, and because we'd gone there, and they were 2 divisions higher, weren't they? And we'd beaten them, and that was absolute quality.
And you were saying earlier on, we'll tell everybody now, The club didn't even allow the coach up, did they?
No, not really.
But to go in your car?
Yeah, we travelled there of an evening, but that was okay. I think to be fair, we did go in the bus.
Yeah.
But when when we came back, we could come back with all our friends and stuff like that. But we did actually go in the bus.
And of course, there's quite a bit of coverage, particularly the Rangers game and the final as well. So it must have been great to have been in the national media spotlight.
Oh,
at the time.
It was. Yeah. We for Rangers and for Notts County, because they were really high up in better divisions. We rolled our sleeves up and went and worked our socks off, and we managed to beat them both, and that was quality.
It's the most games Chesterfield ever played in one season. That season with the Anglo-Scottish Cup, and of course there were 3 matches in the FA Cup that all ended with replays.
Yes.
Peterborough, I think won in the end. So a lot of games. So perhaps with the greatest team that I've ever seen come together at Chesterfield, did those cup games probably cost promotion, do you think? Well,
maybe, because we'd played, 60 games, I don't know, 1 or 2 injuries, 1 or 2, and you get tired at times, but to actually win the Anglo-Scottish, we wanted probably to get the championship as well, but it didn't work.
But how good was that side?
I thought it was decent. It was decent, but I think to win the Anglo-Scottish and to keep the trophy, because it wasn't going to go anywhere else, Chesterfield have kept it forever.
Well,
so that was good.
Of course, the irony, the Scottish clubs pulled out because they weren't very happy with the quality of the opposition. Yeah, well, I think look at the list of names on it, and there's only one Scottish winner on it. The rest of them for England. So I think the English ought to be moaning about the quality of the Scottish.
Maybe so, but because we'd played so many games, and at times, as I've said, 1 or 2 injuries then. Yeah, we probably not quite finished off everything.
But let's just end up with a recollection again of those two games that we touched on earlier on against Carlisle and Colchester United. Just how special did it feel at half time in that Colchester game? Did you know you'd been out and done something special?
Everybody had. It was absolute quality. Worked our socks off, and I wouldn't say Colchester were poor. It was just that everybody got together, rolled their sleeves up, worked their socks off, passed it, kept the ball, moved it around, and when there were chances, that's when we converted them. And to score 3-0 at half time, then that was superb. But there were lots of other games that we'd played in and were decent, but I must admit that first half was probably the best in that season.
And best you've ever played, best 45 you've ever played in?
Probably. I might have played a little bit better elsewhere, but the whole team was brilliant.